We have a new challenger in delivering high-quality products in the gacha space, and I predict this one will be quite disruptive in the current market. Neverness to Everness is described as an urban open-world RPG, and its atmosphere is more in line with something like Cyberpunk 2077 and GTA rather than something like Breath of the Wild. Indeed, we haven't really seen anything like this being attempted before, as the major open worlds that came before it all had more or less fantasy-like settings. Having been teased for several years, it seems that the long-awaited release date has finally arrived. With only one major project previously that had questionable degrees of success, will this be Hotta Studios' redemption arc? I played the game for around 20 hours or so over the past 2 weeks, and there was a lot more to this game than I originally anticipated. In any case, given that it's one of the most major releases in all of gacha gaming, it's time to sit down and have a good first look at NTE's systems to determine if the game is any good and does it have any staying power. Let's begin. Before that, this video was brought to you by Loot Bar. Loot Bar is a formal mobile game top-up platform for your favorite gacha games. The site has a variety of packs and discount codes to purchase in-game stuff. For NTE, you can find the monthly pass for around 25% off, with most of the other deals around the same discount compared to buying in-game. How it works is that after the purchase, you'll be directed into a cloud emulation tool where you'll log into the game as if you were on your mobile device. Then select the pack you bought, and the product will be delivered instantly as if you bought it yourself in-game. Then any trace of your login is deleted. It's a quick and easy process and one I've personally used myself a few times. The service also has a 4.9 out of 5 on Trustpilot and more than 40,000 positive reviews. Use the link in the description and use code PSYCHE to get a special 10% discount. Once again, thank you to Loot Bar for sponsoring this video, and now back to the review. NTE is developed by Hotta Studio, the same developers as Tower of Fantasy. While it originally launched to a fairly warm reception, many felt it was a watered-down version of a certain game that already came before it, so it looked like the Genshin killer wasn't faring too well. A brief look at the Steam numbers does not look very promising. That being said, the game does have a dedicated Chinese fanbase, and the initial wave of revenue it generated in its first year or so have gone on to support the development of the game. I mean, they did scrape together enough to make this game, so they must have done something right. In any case, despite its shaky history, Tower of Fantasy can still be considered a success, and it's only natural that they've learned a few things that will transfer to NTE. I also want to get the technicalities out of the way. It's no surprise that if you have a decent rig, the game can look amazing. I'll get more into the open world designs a bit later on, but scenes like this will likely make anyone's jaw drop, because I don't think anyone would have expected a mobile-centric game to reach levels like this. So I'm not too big on the technical side, but you'll likely need a pretty good rig to run this game on PC. I don't have the best system out there, but I thought I'd be able to run it at maxed out settings with ray tracing. Turns out that couldn't happen. Without DLSS frame generation, the game won't run at a constant 60 FPS. Now, I don't really doubt that if anyone out there just have an average system, they can probably run the game fine, but we are reaching the point where the max graphics settings are becoming slightly less approachable. They can probably optimize the game further post-launch, but thought this was worth pointing out. I would also like to point out that there have been concerns raised over the use of generative AI. There was a blog post about a week before the launch that stated the denial of any use of AI in core assets. Although I must admit some parts of it are quite suspicious, like in the cartoon cutscene before starting the heist minigame. While accusations of AI usage are not unfounded, whether or not these allegations ruin the fun for you is yours to decide. If it goes against your morals where you don't wish to support this kind of behavior, that's completely valid. I just wish to inform those that are going into this game that these allegations exist, and it's up to you if it's a deal breaker. The same developer has had suspicions of plagiarism in the past with Tower of Fantasy, but if I was running their PR department, I'd just change the art, make an apology, and say that it was placeholder assets that were yet to be removed. I mean, Crimson Desert and Expedition 33 did this and it worked out fine for them. Aside from that though, while I'm sure there will be bugs to iron out when you design character kits that can cause weird interactions, the game itself has launched with no big bugs or controversies. A strong head start for sure, but can they keep this up? Before going into the actual content, I would also like to state that the general opinion surrounding something on the internet swings wildly in one direction of the spectrum. Something can only be considered a masterpiece or dog shit. The goal of this review is to meet all the praises and critiques somewhere midway, because nuance is hard to understand and most people will rather create the mental shortcut of attributing something as good or bad and moving on with their life. This is also the reason why I don't do numerical ratings anymore in reviews. In any case, let's start with the story. The story of the game doesn't take itself too seriously at first. You're an anomaly hunter in the city of Hethro that helps folks around town solve their problems. While the opening of the game establishes the world in a more serious tone, this is immediately contrasted by the bubbly cutscenes that come after it. The central protagonist has the alias Appraiser, as you work in an antique shop that doubles as anomaly investigators. Your character just kinda appears during the intro cutscene with no real understanding why you can do the things that you can do. So it sort of falls into the amnesiac trope, but whatever. During the main story, you'll travel around town to various districts and team up with other anomaly hunters to get a feel of their personality and quirks. There will be a direction the narrative seems to be taking itself when you get deeper into the storyline, but the beginning portions that every player will see are light banter from the cast with not that much emotional weight. I personally play the game in Japanese dub since the syncing in the English version can sound a little off. The moment-to-moment gameplay of NTE will not blow you away, as we've already seen similar mechanics being done in other open-world gacha games. You'll form a team of 4, then via character switching, you can form elemental reactions that do certain things. I haven't gotten into the deep end of theory crafting yet, but I was surprised to find that there's actually quite a lot of elemental reaction types, some of them requiring 3 at once, and some unique passives can even be toggled off individually. While in combat, you can use a unit's skill or ult on cooldown, dodge enemy attacks at the last second, and follow up with a counter, or do switch in attacks when another unit's icon begins glowing. Some enemy attacks can also do these special moves that can be parried by attacking at the right moment or switching characters. The movement feels fluid, the enemy attacks are generally telegraphed clearly, and the counter timing is generous. The combat is just good. There's nothing wrong with it, just polished with some flashy animations. Transitioning to gameplay outside combat, that's when things get a little different. You can magically scale up walls, do a double jump, glide in mid-air, and use your skills. Some of the character skills are actually quite impactful, like Nanali who can just bend gravity, whereas we've seen in the beta that Hotori can literally stop time temporarily. As the city is quite big, you can also buy vehicles to help you traverse faster. Many tout NTE as anime GTA, but while it does take some inspirations from GTA, it's really just a lighter imitation. Driving controls feel good enough, though as I found out, the handling feels smoother if you use a controller versus a keyboard, particularly when it comes to drifting. That's not to mention that weather can actually affect how much friction there is. You can get a warrant level if you destroy too many objects or try to attack people, but you won't ever get a want level that easily if you're just playing normally. The city has 5 different districts, and while it didn't seem that big at first glance, I realized how much is actually packed together. The game has a working transit system where you can ride a train to visit the different locales, and some of the views you get in the game actually prompted me to stop and just take it all in. The weather system will cause everything to become wet, and the NPCs as well as your character will have a wet effect too. It's not as meticulous as Enfield's, but that's on a different level. I noticed that when the rain stops, you can sometimes even spot a rainbow in the sky. The open world will be filled with side activities, side quests, and collectibles to kill time with. A lot of the shops can actually be entered, as they'll sell unique stuff that you can't get elsewhere. Now, obviously not every corner of the city will be well thought out or decorated, but actually quite impressive what's there on the surface. Now, something that separates the open world genre from your traditional mobile game is that the openness of the world allows for some intrinsic storytelling from the player side, stories that the game doesn't explicitly present to you, but rather ones that you discover on your own. I'll give an example of one of mine when I first started playing. I was looking to try out Mahjong in this game because why not? But I saw that I didn't have enough teleport points near that location. So instead of just driving there, I decided to figure out the section of the map and ride the transit to the teleporter point near there instead. It took me a while to find the staircase to the train platform hidden on the side. I waited for the train to arrive and I discovered that you can open the back door in the last cabin. I took in the sights in first-person mode, and when I arrived, I went onto the main street and was greeted by the yellow glow of the sunlight as it's approaching dusk. The game never told me to do this, but I find the world of NTE allows for more of these moments compared to other open worlds. The city itself is actually filled with hidden stuff to discover, things that are off the beaten path that you may have never known if you didn't go out of your way to see more of the world. Most of the anomalies are unique challenges that are rarely copy and pasted. Some hidden secrets, like the safe from a bank that just happen to give you a lot of fonts all at once, how you can go to jail if your wanted level is high enough and you get arrested. While in jail, you can serve your time, but there's even ways to break out if you look hard enough. Though I must admit, the warrant system feels more like a hindrance rather than a cool mechanic to be integrated into the game. If you just steal a car, then you instantly get the police on you, even if no one saw you. What's more, all activities and teleport points are disabled until you can get rid of your warrant level, and the police will just magically appear beside you as soon as you walk out of the car. The only realistic way is to go into your apartment and the anomaly furniture buff will clear it. It's quite clear that the game doesn't want you to play as a criminal, so you're not going to get a wanted system as thorough as something from the GTA games. The playable characters can be found sometimes just roaming the world, and you can meet them in weird circumstances. Like if you're driving for Uber and they happen to be the client. This alone makes NTE stand out. In a lot of gacha games, characters just say their piece or get their spotlight while their banner is on rate up, then disappear into the void to make way for the next round of characters. But not here. I'd argue this is why games like Uma Musume are so popular, because as a gacha game, it creates a live and changing world where you can observe its residents talking and communicating with each other. My only concern is if they're able to keep this up in future patches when they release more characters for other cities, because I imagine planting all the characters within the world for you to meet at your own time might take some effort to develop. There's unique lines if you ride with someone and take them to a certain spot on the map, or if you talk to certain NPCs when you're playing as a specific character. I tend to look at these small details because while they are insignificant, the creators put enough foresight into adding them into the game. Whether that may be collision physics for small objects around the world, unique dialogue when certain conditions are met while exploring, it shows that extra layer of care. These small touches didn't have to be in the game, but they are. The world design is easily the highlight of NTE. While its story and gameplay are good, I don't think they can carry the experience. Meanwhile, the vibes of the game are immaculate. The game is polished enough that you could pass it off as a single-player game, but I do want to draw a very careful line here. People often praise gacha games that they're so good, it's a video game first, gacha game second. But if you ask me, NTE can and should be classified as a gacha game. It doesn't really matter how high quality the game is. As soon as you remind people that the gacha does indeed exist, that's when people get upset that they're not getting enough free pulls. Regardless, I don't want to discredit what they've been able to accomplish here, because it really is very impressive. So I'll go over how the progression systems are alike or how it differs from what's out there in the market. But the most obvious one is the city tycoon aspect, where you can invest in cafes and buy property. These activities are fairly linear as you just simply play for longer and upgrading your management level. There is a minigame where you can run the cafe yourself, but at most it's just a cool little side distraction. Hiring the in-game characters as your employees is also possible, and they'll have their own life skill that can be leveled to increase the effects. Buying cars and properties is both cosmetic but also sometimes serves gameplay functions. There's a wide degree of customization with vehicles, and you can go on these races with NPCs for other players. The properties can be decorated with furnishing, but you can also complete these special quests to get anomaly furniture that do give certain buffs. You can also get someone to move into your base, though it doesn't seem like everyone can at this time. This is also where the game gets parasocial and you can do some suspicious activities with them. If only you can charge them rent. Racing and certain other activities take up a separate stamina currency called City Stamina, which is different from the one you use to farm materials. These only refill once per week, but even if you run out, you can still do these activities. There are ways to just spend it instantly if you're strapped for time, but you will have to do each of the mini-games at least once to unlock sweeping. I, on the other hand, was focused on playing the silly tile-based game. For some reason, there's no ranking system, so you'll mostly just be matched with unsuspecting newbies that don't know the rules. Does no one know how to play Mahjong? Other than that, the Fawn's currency is mostly for upgrading your house and cars, but I was surprised to find that you can actually use it to buy some of the skins in the game. It is in the millions mark, but it is possible, so that's kinda cool. If the game goes for a cosmetics-focused approach with its future monetization or progression, that wouldn't be a bad idea if they can pull it off. It's still in your best interest to raise your city tycoon level, as it allows you to buy more Gamba coins and the keys needed for rolling on the weapon banner. Going into normal character progression, everything is mostly the same, and the UI is similar enough to other gachas that you'll immediately know where everything is when you see it for the first time. Characters can be leveled and ascended to break past a level cap. They can wield a weapon called the Arc, with all of their class-exclusive passives that you have to match. To be fair, you can actually score quite a lot of these just playing the game, but it does have a weapon banner that I'll cover later. The console module is the RNG gearing portion. You can farm for these main circular chips to activate a set of buffs. Then you have to include these Tetris pieces to activate the set bonuses. It's a little different per character since their Tetris grids will look slightly different, but the most unique aspect is that you can preview what the substats are. Now, they're still based on a range, so sometimes a piece will just give more crit stats than others, but NTE's version has it so that you just have one, maybe two layers of RNG in the system so you can immediately know if a piece is worth upgrading. I suspect the odds for certain substats are still weighted so that you'll spend a decent amount of time farming for these, but on the surface, it does look slightly better in terms of RNG gearing. The dupe system is a bit interesting. At first glance, it looks like your other open-world gachas where you can pull 6 additional times of a unit to get their dupe bonuses. But NTE's version actually lets you toggle the dupe effects at will. The more you unlock, the more you can select. This makes it a little bit more interesting since people will be theory crafting which dupe buffs are the most significant, and they're forced to design dupe levels so that they each can't be a big power boost since everyone will just be prioritizing those. That being said, the game does also have a cumulative dupe bonus, where if you have 3 or 6 copies of the unit, you unconditionally unlock another passive. This effectively means they can disguise the lesser buffs in the toggleable passive portion, but put the actually game-changing effects here, making the breakpoints for these upgrades 3 or 6 dupes respectively. I imagine they can't make these passives too powerful either, or people may complain that this is where the true upgrades are, and the toggleable dupes are just not impactful enough. By spending the normal stamina, you can go to these dungeons to farm the mats needed to upgrade your units. They all have cool themes, and I was shocked that there's no loading screen when you would enter one. After beating it, you can use double stamina to claim double the rewards. Isn't that nice? Can't imagine gatekeeping double stamina expenditure with some unnecessary bullshit mechanic. Certain mats will require you to go into the world and farm some kind of anomaly, so that's still a thing. Overall, generic progression stuff, but it does do a few things that slightly makes it look better than the competition. Although, I'm sure gacha players are more interested in something else. Is the gacha system generous? Well, generous is a subjective word, and without any long-term track record, I don't think anyone can definitively say if a gacha game is generous. It all depends on the income of pulls given out. Let's see what NTE has to offer first. There's 4 and 5-star characters in the game. The 5 stars have a 0.99% chance to drop, which is oddly specific, but okay. The highlight is that the game features a 100% rate up system, so every time you land a 5-star on the banner, it will get you the rate up. The soft pity starts at 70 and the hard pity at 90. What's unique about NTE's gacha is that it's presented in the form of a board game, where every pull you do will simulate a dice roll, and landing on the square gives you whatever reward is on there. Just like my impressions in the beta version of the game, this doesn't matter. It's just a cool way to present your rolls on the slot machine. If there was a strategy to pulling on a gacha, everyone would be doing it. How it's set up is that you may come across certain events while pulling that gives you the impression you got lucky, where you somehow had agency on the board. There's something in the psychology of gambling called the near-miss effect, where if the player gets a result that's clearly a loss but it's close to the jackpot, then it creates as much excitement within the player as if it was a win. You can argue that the 50-50 rate-up gimmick a lot of gacha games do these days is sort of a replication of that, since if you see gold sparks, you get excited that it may be the character you're looking for, only to see a twink lion boy. The board game trick in NTE is like this, just with the antics turned up. I will give credit that you can actually get free pulls here, so now you can roll a gacha while within a gacha. If you hit the soft pity at 70 pulls, then the board will replace certain squares with S-rank cards to signify you're close to the 5-star. Does this mean that the gacha system is just better than the competition? Well, I wouldn't say so immediately. If I was a shill for the game, then I would point to the total amount of money needed to guarantee a character of your choice. If you take a look at top-up sites, then the packs will show that a selected 5-star character will cost dramatically less than the other big titles in the open world niche. The problem here is that the majority of people were never going to spend upwards of $100 or $200 on a virtual character in a video game anyways, so whether it costs $100, $200, or $300 is almost irrelevant. This system tends to benefit dolphins and whales, which I imagine was what they were going for anyways. Although, what I will say is that the 100% rate up means that your pulls are very easy to calculate. If you get 90 pulls, you get the rate up character. There's no ambiguity, so in that respect, it does one-up the competition. However, it ultimately comes down to how many free pulls are consistently given out over many patches to get a gauge how realistic it is to land 5 stars as a free-to-play. This is not accounting for the weapon banner. Here, you can use these keys to roll on the gacha, but if you have a lot of keys saved up, you can just buy some of the arcs here. It's sort of similar to Enfield system if you really want it in comparison. The banner itself costs 10 keys to roll 10 times, and the rate up is a 25%. The base rate for a gold arc is 3%, but you must spend 10 keys at a time, so no single pulls. There will be many other S-rank arcs available to be bought outright for 25 keys, but the current rate up arc must be obtained in the gacha. For what it's worth, you can score a lot of free arcs just by playing the game, so I can't really tell you how egregious the weapon banner is at this time. It just depends on how impactful the S-rank arcs are in terms of power level, which can change over time. The cash up is sort of what you'd expect from a gacha game. Most of it is pretty typical, but I do want to bring to attention to something I think is a little bit scummy. That goes to the character skin when you accumulate enough pulls on a banner. For the case of Nanali, it's 200. While this mileage system does return when Nanali goes on rate up again, what this mechanic does goes one step further from traditional gacha games. It doesn't matter how lucky you get on the banner. If you luck sack the rate up in one pull but you still want the skin, then you're stuck pulling on the gacha even if you don't want to. Love and Deep Space does this too, but it's only very small cosmetic accessories. There's actually no other way to buy this even if you had some spare cash. You can argue that this is in exchange for having a lower price for guaranteeing a 5-star character, as the game is more cosmetics oriented in monetization, though I just don't like this system personally. In short, the 100% rate up chance is nice, but the ultimate test is how much free currency is given out, which the devs have full control over. Now onto my main critiques of the game now that I'm around 2 weeks into it. I'm overall very happy it's off to a great start, and I think the current state of gacha gaming has never been better. We now have multiple giants that are competing in the big leagues, and that means more choice to play whatever you want. I'll narrow everything down to just one main concern. While the world of NTE is incredibly polished and detailed, I don't think the gameplay and story can carry this game. They're fluid and well presented, but don't exactly blow me away. My main concern for the game is that it may not have staying power when you get to the late game. I mean that in the sense that while the world is pretty to look at, the everyday activities like driving or mahjong serve as cool side distractions, but ones you probably wouldn't be excited to hop on the game every day just to do that. Something to consider when playing a gacha game is that you can't think of it as a regular video game meant to be played once, but rather one that's designed to be played indefinitely. If a game regularly comes up with new innovative game modes or thrilling stories, then it's a strong motivator for people to check back once in a while. I personally don't believe NTE has either nailed down at the moment. While the story does seem to go into something more important, I've yet to see a dramatic payoff. The gameplay feels slick and responsive, just that you probably played a gameplay loop similar to this already. I do have some suggestions on how I'd make it to increase the longevity of the game, but I'm not sure if they'll follow it. The game itself feels like it modeled its updates like GTA Online, but it doesn't do enough to encourage a wide degree of activities every day. I would like to see maybe ways to create guilds, run heists with squads, or other long-form goals to work towards. Instead of making additional cities and world spaces to explore like other open-world gachas, NTE can simply do what GTA Online does, by just expanding the current city it already has, like remodeling certain buildings for additional activities, such as an in-game racing track or another mode like the heist minigame. The main goal here is to increase the degree of customization and variety in the activities you can do. Something I can say is that if the game simply makes endgame content another generic time trial combat stage, the game will likely stagnate. If the game was looking to fill the role of anime GTA, then they can simply do that instead of chasing popular trends in other open-world gachas. I'd encourage it to branch out and experiment with things that haven't been done in this niche yet, and I think doing so will make me respect it even more. Now that I've had a good first look at the game, I'm overall pleased with its quality, and in the event that I do run out of things to do, I'm gonna do what I always do with any video game when I get bored of it. Go play something else. Even considering that the late game content may be lacking at this time, that doesn't even need to be a bad thing. I think a lot of people tend to stake a large portion of their free time and commitment to a singular game, but there's plenty of other stuff out there. I've been playing some Silk Song and Repo recently, and it's made me realize that you don't need to fall into elements of fear missing out from gacha games. I'd absolutely recommend NTE to try, and you'll likely have a blast in the first couple weeks you play. It has a detailed world full of secrets and hidden interactions, a fairly linear city tycoon mode where you can manage your business and properties, and plenty of ways to interact with the character cast outside the main story. I think it currently needs a more enticing late game progression model to have a real shot at excelling, but it's a game you'll likely play for the gameplay, but stay because of the vibes. Anyways, that about does it for my first impression of NTE, so let me know what you think where you will be sticking to it for the time being. If you want to watch more gacha related content like this, subscribe to the channel. You can support for as little as $2 a month on Patreon, and I may even release the occasional early access video once in a while. As always, thank you for watching, be sure to spend moderately, and have fun out there.